The gate to St. Gregory the Great Catholic School in Scripps Ranch has been closed since March, but that will soon change.
We've worked very hard to make sure that it's a safe path to reopening. So being able to come back together on Tuesday is the best blessing we could have.
Maeve O'Connell has worked in Catholic schools for 50 years, both in the U.S. and Ireland. She has been principal here for 12 of those years and now leads a student body of 188 K through 12th graders and 40 preschoolers.
I think our greatest concern from the very beginning, when we closed way back in March, was the social emotional well-being of our children. We regretted the fact that we couldn't have a spiritual connection in person with our students. And while we were continuing, of course, to support them spiritually on Zoom, it's just not the same.
The kids actually started school online on August 18th. O'Connell says after weeks of making modifications, the campus is physically ready to have them back in class. The school spent more than $20,000 beefing up its health and safety standards, like touchless sanitation stations and touch-free thermometers.
We were able to avail of some PPE supplies also through the CARES Act, which was extremely helpful to us. So lots of hand sanitizer, masks, and face shields.
While the school didn't receive money through the federal CARES Act, it received a government donation in kind. A care package, essentially, with things like liquid sanitizer to fill their dispensers, as well as N95 masks for their faculty and staff.
We are blessed to have such a huge field.
In order to limit class sizes to a maximum of 24 students, which O'Connell calls the coronavirus max, the school capped a limit on new student admissions.
It's our other kindergarten classroom.
An additional kindergarten teacher was hired to split the class into 2 rooms by repurposing what was once the learning center.
Instead of the children sharing supplies, as they normally would, and sharing math manipulatives, they each have their own little bin. And then the teachers can take them outside at the end of the day and spray them down to disinfect.
Kids will sit and eat behind plexiglass trifold shields at their desks. O'Connell says these were the biggest expenditure.
This little clip here, it's actually a dual purpose in that the kids could hang like a little number chart up there. They can take their mask off and then hang their mask here while they're behind their plexiglass for a little break now and again. So it's a very, I guess, an educational tool as well as a safety tool.
Supersonic. 18 minutes gone, guys. Okay, now half burpees, hands down.
Beyond the physical changes, the school is still invested in technology for distance learning to families who are not ready to send their children to campus.
Actually, I think we're going to 4th grade. Thank you. Hello. We're going to come in for a minute if you don't mind.
The teacher will live stream the lessons to kids at home.
Are you Zooming?
I will be in 1 minute.
This will also be useful if a student, a class, or the entire school has to quarantine in the event of an exposure.
Hey guys, how's it going? How was PE? Let's see, Cole, how was it? Tell me a little bit about what happened.
We did a lot of dive bombers and push-ups.
Even with the creative accommodations made for distance learning, O'Connell's greatest concern is the spiritual isolation her students experienced.
This is our patron saint, St. Gregory, with his prayer on the back.
She said the school wanted to reinforce the power of prayer and sent each family home with a prayer box.
And then there's a little cloth for the table. There's some prayer cards to help with prayers. There's some holy water and a little candle to light when it's time for family prayer.
The goal, she says, is to bridge the gap for families who are hungry for a way to express themselves spiritually.
I think through the power of prayer, we overcome. And even though we might be a little nervous, and there's always a what if this happens or that happens, we're trusting in God, and we think that with good common sense, good practices, healthy practices, and consistent practices, we'll be okay.
So while morning hugs with the teacher are on hold for now, this school still wants students to make healthy connections, both spiritually, academically, and with air high fives. Maya Trabulsi, KPBS News.